Thanks for tuning in to Gin and Tantra, Spirituality with a Twist. We have our good friend Phaedra with us today. We'll be talking about all of the things kink and fetish and some terms and definitions and fun ideas that are alive in that kind of community today. So if that's what you're into, then you are in the right place. If you stumbled across us somehow randomly, I could say you're probably still in the right place. But
Yeah.
if this is not for you, then please turn it off. And as I like to say, turn on some cat videos. That'll always get your goat. So
Definitely.
we're gonna dive in and let Phaedra take us away with some discussion on consent, as that's usually where these conversations begin. But with in the lifestyle and just in these kind of play spaces in general. So, Phaedra, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel.
Mhm.
Thank you for letting me dress for the occasion.
Thank you.
Um,
Yes. Yeah. For our non-video folks, Phaedra is dressed in a black latex with some rings and chains and spikes around the neck, just in case she thought she was going to escape. The answer is no.
no, absolutely not. Okay. So first and foremost, we start with the basic, right? Which is informed consent. Anytime, like in this, in the kink fetish, like, well, with anything, I don't care if you're not in kink and fetish, everything should have informed consent, right?
Yeah.
So, this is the meaning of what informed consent is giving consent under full knowledge. What this means too, where there's these lines is like, and we've heard them in the news, we've heard them with our friends, is like when drugs and alcohol are involved, right? Because you don't remember, like all these
Yeah.
things. So those
Yeah.
can blur the lines of informed consent. So
Yeah.
especially in these areas that we're going to talk about today, it can get pretty heavy, it can get pretty emotional, and dangerous in some sense. And so yeah, so we want to make sure with all these things, and we're gonna when we're giving the definitions, there's always going to be consent's going to be part of this. So
For
you're going
sure.
to
Yeah.
hear that repeated all today. But yeah, so informed consent, giving consent under full knowledge, and that's like not under the influence of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. So this is the
That's where we
beginning. This is the
start,
beginning. This is the beginning point. This is where things start.
where things start.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely. So Daniel, like let's even say, we hear these terms kink and fetish, and
Hmm.
they're not exactly the same thing.
Correct.
Um, yeah, so a kink is a non-conventional or non-traditional sexual practice. Fair,
Hmm.
when we say somebody's kinky, like they're like, ooh, they like some weird things. Like
Yeah.
that's cool. Um, and then with fetishes, it is a subset of kink, where um an object or an objectified body part that's not usually considered for sex is required to experience arousal or orgasm.
Yeah.
So those are the difference between fetishes and
So
kinks.
maybe we give some examples, right? So
Yeah.
I think a common one people know about probably in for normal sex folks, a fetish would be like a
Normal
foot
sex.
fetish,
Yes,
right?
a foot
Foot fetish. So
fetish.
the feet do it for you. It's
Hmm.
it's a kind of a kink, I guess you could say, but it's not. But it's they enjoy that, but it's different
Yeah.
than a kink in a sense.
Right. So it's just like the look of the feet, the smell of the feet, the taste of the feet.
Hmm.
I mean, people make a lot of money on foot
They
videos on
do.
OnlyFans. So much money. Just with their cute little toes. And not even cute. Some of the feet aren't, but they're killing it out there. Good for them.
Yeah. I
Good for
mean,
them.
there's people who make money blowing bubbles on bubble with bubble gum.
Blowing bubbles?
Yes.
Oh, that's cute. I
Yes.
like
Yeah, I
that.
know somebody who does that.
Really? Well, I
Yes.
mean, you think about it, like the chewing and the tongue, like there's a lot of like sexual kind of stuff okay, I can see that.
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
mean,
like
it's
an
probably not mine,
ASMR.
but
It's kind of like
yeah,
ASMR, but then they also will just, chew it and blow it and
cool.
yeah.
Oh, I like it. It's like the more pieces of gum they use, is it like,
I haven't got
no?
into the details of her of this particular thing, but I will
Mhm.
I will be sure
Interesting.
to I'll be sure to ask more questions
Yeah.
today.
there's a lot there. You
Yeah.
can unpack a lot. Another one would be like a food fetish, right? Where
Mm.
people use food, eating food, wearing food, having food eaten off of the other person, just watching
Mm.
that or doing it. Um, Very messy,
Mm.
but I've seen stuff. I went to a show once where they were using hot dogs and it was kind of interesting. And they weren't cooked, they were raw, but they were like doing hot dogs and like ketchup and mustard.
Mm.
And people were really excited by it.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Were they
there's
kosher?
that. Or kosher. But I'm sure that could be, that could be done,
Yeah.
depending on your audience,
Yeah. Yeah.
All these foods are safely prepared,
Yes.
as we're getting ready for.
And consent was given for sure.
Consent is given.
Uh-huh.
Correct,
Uh-huh.
correct.
And
So yes.
what would you give in terms of like a kink? Like what would you an example of a kink?
Okay, so we can get right into it. So kink would be like BDSM. A lot of people hear BDSM and they think all of a sudden it's like, oh, BDSM, like when, someone's dressed like moi and you get whips and change in the ball gag. And like that, I think is the overview from vanilla people as to what BDSM is, which we'll get into. And it's a type of kink that involves playing with power, and it's an acronym for bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, sadism, and
Masochism.
masochism. So I was
Yes.
like, wait, I'm not saying straight, masochism.
Yeah.
There's a lot. That's a lot there for three
Mm.
little letters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so bondage, where we can start, is like being tied up, restrained, right? So you've
Mm-hmm.
got like ropes, you've got chains, handcuffs, spreader bars, um, suspension.
Mm.
So those things, and I mean, it can be as simple as just wearing handcuffs.
Right.
That's a start. And that's where I think a lot of people start is like, oh, let's get the handcuffs out, the furry ones, that
Right.
are
Yeah.
really cute that you get in the little kits from,
Hmm.
Lover's Lane.
Lover's
They're so
Lane. There you
cute.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
That you can break out of really easily.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's a good start and it's fun and it's playful and it can add a little spice.
Right.
That can go all the way up to like where you use handcuffs in some scenarios. You can use handcuffs and they're like leaving marks because they're really tight, or how they're placed around the body. There causes pain, which is consensual. It causes pain, or, which is what it arouses, um, what can arouse, or just the act of doing that can arouse the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so bondage, discipline. So with that, like the bondage and the discipline. So that's another thing too. When you're restrained, there may be some acts of, like discipline. And that doesn't mean necessarily spanking or hitting, like impacting, which we can talk about impact in a second,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that. It could be just like, no, you have to sit there and just look at me and just restricting, saying no and disciplining the person in a way that, they really want something and the other person's like, well, you can't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So anything to add to that?
No, yeah. I mean, there's that. There's also it's verbal, right? So it can be
Circle.
it's physical, but it can be verbal. Some people
Hmm.
like, you know, um, some amounts of like degradation,
Yes. Hmm.
which I find interesting.
Degradation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which I find to be an interesting kind of a thing. I think maybe on there's, I don't know where you fall on this, but some of it is playful. You know, I talked to one of my friends. He's like, oh, you're just calling. He's like, you're like a baseball announcer, and you're just saying what's going on. You're just, oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing that. Oh, look at you. You're doing that, right? Like you do that. But then
Yeah.
on the, but then that quickly kind of goes to like maybe some like I don't want to call it name calling, but you
Oh,
know,
it's name calling.
yeah,
I
yeah, for
do.
sure.
It can get really intense, where, like to the point, like degradation can be where it starts easy, like calling someone a slut, like, oh, you're, and it's kind of playful, but it's like that's a start. But then you're
Yeah.
getting into like real areas where it's if if someone else was watching and heard this and not like understanding this, like they'd be like, wow, how would you put up like he or she completely, like that's so disrespectful and it's hurtful. And it can get that bad, degrading, like spitting in someone's face or like there's all kinds of like all that stuff of degrading someone, just making them feel less than, right? Making
Mm-hmm.
them feel like they're worth nothing, they're an
Mm-hmm.
object.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it can be really hot for some people.
Yeah.
And there's many reasons why, and psychologists and therapists they can get into it. But as long as it's consensual
Mm-hmm.
and it's a thing and everyone's liking it, it's okay. And and even degradation with um, like there's that power play of, uh, like money, like men or women who are high up, like CEOs, and you're just talking about how shitty of a person you are, like, you can't control this. And I mean, it gets so psychological,
Oh yeah, for sure.
like so it doesn't even have to be like about sexual stuff. It can
Right.
totally be about life. Like,
Yeah.
and people get like every day you're killing it at work and you're just like this high powered CEO, lawyer, whatever, and all of a sudden you have your dom basically telling you you're a piece of
Yeah,
shit
you
and
ain't
you're not
shit.
worth anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't do this. And then
Yeah.
they're like, give me more. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a whole psychological component. Yeah. But maybe we can have someone on someday and talk about all the psychology of this stuff
Yeah,
because
for
there is a
sure.
lot.
There's yeah,
Yeah.
so there's that, and then there's humiliation.
Oh, the humiliation. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, humiliation is that's interesting. That I mean, that's such a I don't want to say weird because I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, you know what I'm saying? But
No.
like
Well,
humiliation
we
is
all are weird in this
we're
community.
yeah, for
We're
sure.
all
But so
weird, but
so like humiliation is literally the other person is insulting you, you know?
those things so bad. Yeah.
And it's not always limited. I mean, often it's limited to the bedroom, but I'm not. I don't do that. So like, I don't know. I know about it. I know people who are they're
Hmm.
kind of into it.
Yeah.
And but it's insult. I mean, you're being insulted, like for
Yeah.
sure. There's no doubt about it. And look, if people like that, that's fine. I think psychologically, some aspects of this are to kind of counteract the constraints that these people feel in society, like you were talking about, like CEOs
Yeah.
wanting to be men or women wanting to be dominated,
Yeah.
wanting to be like put in their place, and they like that. Especially, I mean,
Hmm.
I don't stereotypically men,
Yeah.
powerful
Yeah.
men
Yeah. Yeah.
like a super strong woman dressed like how you are dressed right now to be like,
Yeah.
shut the
Telling them,
fuck up, you know?
stomping on their balls with their heels.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
exactly. And then be like, how did you grow such a tiny penis? That thing is
Yes.
infinitesimal. You have a baby. You
I
didn't even
know.
grow. And
Talking about penis size is definitely one of the big,
oh yeah,
like, yeah, that's huge.
but it's
Oh,
not huge. That's why
it's not
I'm
right,
being
right.
insulted.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Um,
yeah, but it's psychologically it's an interesting thing, and I think for me as like I've learned more about this and whatever, I am cautious of myself to engage in some of these things because I don't want to like perpetuate someone's wounds. And I feel like even though sexuality and pleasure is a very healing space, can be very
yeah.
healing, like orgasms are great and can be healing, can be. They're not always,
Hmm.
but they can be.
Yes, they can
But then
be.
simultaneously, as a healer person and as an aware person,
Yeah.
not saying others are not aware, I'm just saying myself. I
Hmm.
don't want to like if somebody has some trauma, I don't want to feel like
Yeah.
I'm adding to that trauma in this arena. Does that make sense? Like it's just a fine line.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. And I think one of the most beautiful things I found is that the unbelievable emotional conversation that's had
Mm,
before and after these things
mm,
occur. I can't speak for everyone. I don't know if everyone has the type of conversations that arise
sure.
after, this stuff, but this is why after a lot of these things, there's like aftercare, right?
Mm,
Because you're coming down from this immense high.
right.
Um, and that's, I think, the most beautiful thing. In my experience is like we talk about it. It's like, well, why did you like that?
Yeah.
What did, it's like that was different.
Mm,
And not something to what you said is like, I don't think I want to and get involved because I don't want to add to someone's trauma.
Right.
Um, and there's a big part of it that's helping like work through, well, let's see this, we did this, that was really cool. Where is this coming from and why did I like that so much? Because I've
Mm,
never really thought I liked it. So
mm,
that wasn't that's not like a norm. I don't want to say normal because I hate that word, but that's not a
yeah.
usual thing that I would
Yes.
practice. And all of a sudden, like that's making me like, whoo, it's like really hot and bothered. So where is that coming from?
Mm,
Um, I'm fortunate to be able to have, the right outlet for that. But I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I would suggest if anyone's kind of like curious, make sure you talk it out. This isn't stuff that you just do and you're like, oh yeah, that was fun. Because if
yeah.
something's like triggering that immense pleasure, especially in a sexual sense,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, that's weird. Like, why do I like that so much? It's probably because it's coming from somewhere like
Sure.
really deep
Yeah.
and talk about it,
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
important. Yeah, all this stuff is a way, like you were saying, it is therapy in a way,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
in a completely different way, but yeah, but being able to reach, yeah. But it's coming like you were saying, being self-aware and all those things. Some people may not be, and they're just like, someone freaking do it. Like I know individuals that do it and they're like, I don't know why. I'm like, do you want me to tell you? Because I can tell you exactly why you're into, like all the things you're into, which we won't get into, but like to me, it's easy. And if he doesn't want to hear it, that's okay. But, and some people are like that. They're like, I don't care about my trauma and my wounds. That's very interesting from you to hear. And as a healer, yeah, it, I can see the desire to kind of hold back from that. But maybe it's a discussion you and your partner have
Well, the thought
at
that
some
comes to
point.
mind is like you would take a source of pain and sort of
Mm-hmm.
alchemize it into a source of pleasure.
Pleasure. Yeah.
So you're kind of
That's
like
so true.
reclaiming some of those aspects
Yeah.
of yourself that were maybe taken away from you. You know, if you're thinking about
Yeah.
like sexual trauma or even emotional trauma too. You know, you heard
Oh,
that at
yeah.
some, if somebody called you a dummy or what, whatever. I mean, this is like infantile insults. I'm not the shit that
But
people
it's
play with in this
true.
space is like,
It goes down. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, we talk about that, like the adult, the age play, right?
Mm,
Where
oh
you've
yeah.
got like mother, daughter, mother, son, father, daughter, father, son, like these aspects of, you're going back to this little child.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, with age play, make sure it's legal. The person's over 18 or some whatever the things, it's got to be
Yeah.
legal and consensual. Like
Right. Yeah.
we don't do age play with little children. That's something completely different. But when two consenting adults are playing completely different ages, you know, um, and that I think could be a very healing thing too.
Yeah.
But also, this is why people hire professionals. Like, there's professional doms and dames, and there's professional people that actually study this. And I know a
Mm,
few, and it's educational. It's like saying that you just want to be a dom and a thing. Like, that's fine. That'd be cool. This is like how you recognize yourself. But there's actually like classes and things you can take so that you, as like in a healing space, could
yeah.
be someone's person to do this
Yeah.
and let this stuff
Yeah.
come out. And it's really psychological and it's beautiful. And I think, I mean, in a different sense, this is what people will go to instead of going to their psychologist.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a therapy.
It
It's,
is. Yeah.
it's sensual therapy in a sense.
Hmm.
And because it's not
Yeah.
even always sexual, it's not even always penetrative.
It's not. Nope. Not penetrative at all.
Hmm.
Oh no. There's some. We'll get into that too. But I wanted. Mm, no, there's something that you said earlier, and I'll have to get back to it because I don't remember. But
Okay.
yeah. So we're talking about the dom and the sub. So
Yeah.
in those two, um, well, back to what we were saying with the bond and stuff. So part of the BDSM is the dominant submission, the sadism and masochism, which is
Hmm.
basically the sadist who likes to
Hit.
like hurt the person or
Yes.
yeah, like be the person that's doing that. And then the masochist who is like enjoying like the pain is the pleasure. Like you said,
Yeah.
alchemizing that pain into
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah.
So that's where the sadism and masochism come in. The dominance is submission. You've got your dom person to submit. Now, sometimes there's switches. So here I'm dressed like in this latex, whatever, and I could have a crop and be ready, but I could switch and have someone put a leash on me with one of these rings, right? And now I'm
Hmm.
the submissive. Some
Hmm.
people are a switch leaning dom, some people are switches leaning submissive. It's just like a different role that they can play. They play
Hmm.
both, but they prefer one or the other
Hmm.
over in specific like situation. Um, so that's what the submissive is like they're taking it from the person that's giving it, um, and submitting. But you like this one, brat. Can you explain what a brat is?
Oh man.
Who
Yeah,
knows a brat?
I'm not
I
sure
don't
that
know any brats.
you don't know any brats? Sure you do.
Oh, I don't know any.
Oh, well, we know some similar people, and I'll tell you what, they're fucking brats for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. And if you know us and you're listening to that and you think that might be you, it probably is.
it probably is.
So just accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brat's an interesting one. Like, so on the because everything has a spectrum, right? And there's everything is a
Hmm.
spectrum. Nothing is just either or. Even like you're saying, like between a dominant and a submissive, there's switch, and then there's switches who have a spectrum of being more dominant, more submissive, or right in the middle, or whatever. Okay, fine. I think for me, the kind of the spectrum to dominant and sub is like a brat and a daddy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's on the same thing. So, brat and daddy, like what is this? One is a person, typically this is female and male, or I guess it could be male and male, or maybe female. I guess it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. I don't
Yeah.
really know. It's you I guess it's used maybe in the pejorative with the female male because it's referred to as a
It,
daddy. Like I don't know if you have
yeah.
I mean, I'm not in the lesbian community, so I don't know if they have a brat and a mommy. I'm not sure. I'm not like
I want to say that, yeah, there is the mommy role for sure. I'm going to assume that there'd be a mommy and a brat
I
for
would assume
sure.
it
Yeah.
transcends sexual preference,
It
but
totally does.
we'll just
Because
call
I
it
feel
for
like there could be male brats. I
oh,
feel like,
yeah,
depend,
100%.
yeah. So,
I'm not, yeah, I don't even want to go too much far down that, you know. But we'll just talk about it from a female to male dynamic, and then you could extrapolate from there on. It's not exclusive.
yeah. And the daddy can also be like instead of the daddy, you can also use the term brat tamer. I mean,
Oh
daddy's its
yeah,
own
brat
thing,
tamer.
but
There
the
you
brat
go.
tamer as
But
well.
daddy
Yeah.
sounds way more fun than brat tamer,
Daddy sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
brat tamer. Yeah.
But yeah, so wait, the brat and the brat tamer. You know what I mean?
Excuse me.
You bless you. And so yeah,
Thank
so
you.
the brat is somebody who, at least from my understanding, my experience is somebody who is a little bit like feisty and
Hmm.
likes to say no, likes to be playful, but still in a consensual way, and like what and I think maybe with more in for brat, but also in the submissives and doms, that the play extends outside of the bedroom as well as inside of the bedroom.
Oh,
And so
that's what I was going to talk to you about. Yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah. And so like brats are bratty, meaning like a young kid would be like, I don't want to do that. Like they have a little bit of like a childish nature to them that is obstinate. They're not like, yay, let's go have a good time. It's more like, no, don't tell me what to do. But really, they totally want you to tell them what to do. Like
Yep.
specifically, like that's exactly what they want.
They're
And then
resisting to be disobedient and to be like,
yes,
to be
they want to be punished, but they want
punished.
to
Yes.
earn that punishment. They don't want you to just
Yes, they
punish them for
do.
no reason. They want to,
Right.
be like, I don't want to. Is that tell me
Mhm.
no? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. 100%. That's exactly right.
and so then like the brattiness and the brat and the brat tamer and the dom and the sub, but then this all in the bedroom is one thing, but then it can extend into like regular life as well.
Yes.
And this is a much different dynamic because now you're kind of playing these roles, you're living these roles now all the time. And so a
Mhm.
bratty personality versus brat tendencies sexually or like in that sense, they, I feel like, forget from my understanding, other people will probably have far more experience than I do in this for sure, but they're always kind of resisting. It's a steady state of resistance and whatever. And then in a dom sub relationship, the dominant person will tell the sub exactly what they're going to be doing all the time for the length or maybe for the length of an evening. That might be part of the play is like, you're going to wear this, you're going to do this. You can only get up when I tell you.
Hmm.
You can speak when I allow you. You know what I'm saying? They have like the
Yep.
rules move beyond the bedroom play. But of course, this is all
Yeah.
done consensually. I mean, it should be done consensually.
Yeah.
If it's not, then this is kind of like
Then
sex
it's something
trafficking, or
else. Yeah.
it's controlling, it's
It's,
abusive, you
yeah,
know.
it's abuse.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and in addition to that too, when you talk about, so the dom, but you're also talking about daddy. So like in the daddy role, it usually is an older man or woman if it's mommy, whatever. And this is like not just about, like you were saying, sexual stuff. This is also like he's actually cares about like showing care
Yes.
and safety. So there's an emotional component of
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah.
So this person, so there's like trust and safety, usually like, he's got his shit together and there's communication. So even
Hmm.
though there's Israel, there's that like there's life
Trust.
experience. So it's trust and life experience. So even if and this doesn't mean, added to this, like not all people with daddy or mommy fetishes have like daddy mommy issues.
Correct.
I mean, it could be and it's probable, but there's this in the sexual experience, like the sexual way of this, there's, just this feeling of being able to completely like trust and let
Hmm.
someone just do all the things. And then in life, taking you out, like people say like, oh, it's my sugar daddy. Same thing, like
Right.
taking care of you. And so
Right.
it can extend outside the bedroom, or it doesn't even have to get into a sexual thing.
Yeah.
Like you just have a relationship with a person that's completely, um, like transactional,
Yeah.
but each person, they're getting something out of it, so yes, he's buying her or she's buying him or he's
They're
whatever the
they're buying each
situation is.
other.
They're buying each other, like, one's buying another person
Yeah.
like all these beautiful things, whatever, taking care of them, while the other person is like, maybe just having nice dinners and talking and like
Hmm.
showing this other person love and affection in that way, but there's
Hmm.
no sexual component to it.
Yeah, what do they call those?
So,
Fin doms, financial doms. I think that's what
oh
those are
yeah,
called.
yeah, financial doms. Yep, yep, yep,
Yep.
yep. So yeah, so that just is like an interesting, I think that's an
Hmm.
interesting way of going about that too. I've known a woman who had the quote unquote like sugar daddy, and it was very much, she's like, yeah, we've never had sex. It's just it's it's transactional in the sense like that there's, things being bought or money being put in the accounts.
Account, yeah.
But the man was getting something out of it for sure, whether it was long conversations, just attention. So he was feeling loved and
Yeah.
heard,
Yeah.
which is huge, which is sometimes bigger and better than being able to have sex because that's easy.
Yeah.
So
For
yeah,
some.
for some.
For some.
Yes, for some.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you're an incel, this conversation might be a little bit difficult. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Please leave your comments in the down below. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't. Okay, so ooh, this is a fun one. Okay, so praise kink. What's that
Hmm.
all about?
Yeah. So
Um,
go ahead.
yeah, praise kink. So exaggerated compliments and approval. Hmm, that's a good one.
Yeah. This is kind of the opposite
Um,
of degradation.
a complete opposite. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is all about, which can be just as uncomfortable or more uncomfortable than being
Yeah.
degraded because you have someone sitting there telling you that like, you know, as a woman, like everything that's great about you, you're perfect, you're beautiful. God, look at your body. Oh, your breasts are beautiful. Oh, I love your mind. Oh my gosh, like you're so smart. Like just going on and on about the body, the like anything that's praiseful. And it can be really uncomfortable. Like you're
Mm.
just sitting there like, oh, wow, he's really paying attention and he's saying these things, and it can get really uncomfortable. Um, but then there's some women or men or, that really are like, that's just like, yes, bring it on. And
Yeah.
it's also really nice for the person that's saying it too. I think that's a kink for them too. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
say it's like the praise kinks for the person that's receiving it, but I
Yeah.
think it's also kind of a kink for the person that's saying it too.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, yes, definitely different than degrading.
Yeah, well, both, I mean, listen, anytime you have one person who wants one thing, whether it be whatever, the other person who is
Hmm.
doing it is engaging in that thing as well. And
Right,
they
right.
might be engaging in it because they like it, but they also might be engaging in it because the other person likes it and they will do it for that person. And
Yep.
thereby they get not they get off, but they have some pleasure in
Pleasure.
pleasing their other person, assuming they can
Yeah.
do it with pleasure, right? Not that it's like
Hmm.
if somebody wants to be degraded and you don't want to degrade them, I think it's going to
It's
be very hard for you to find it in you to do it and not like
no.
insult them. That's why, when I guess I don't even want to say it. It's fine.
Are you sure? You don't
Yeah,
want to say
well,
it?
I'm just saying, be careful who you ask to be degraded by, because they might accidentally put a curse on your family. You know what I mean? Like that's like real degradation.
Right?
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
mean, seriously.
yeah, I mean,
But if
fuck
it's
you
and
and
if
your whole family. You ain't shit. You're
yeah,
like,
no.
whoa, whoa, wait a minute. Well, I just,
Just talking about me. Just tell me that my penis isn't great,
yeah, just
please.
tell me
Like
I'm a
let's
little
not get into
pale,
that.
man. Just like take it easy, guy. Jeez.
Ah, yeah, no, that's true though. That can get a little crazy. Yeah, and that's another thing too. This is why when we talk about consent, it's not just consent that you're doing it to someone. It's like, hey, are you comfortable,
Yeah, doing it.
choking me and pulling my hair and like hitting me, slapping me in the face? Like, are you comfortable with all this? Because I am. But if the other person's not, it's not going to be fun. A, because they're not going to do it right, and
Right.
they will probably end up hurting you.
Yeah.
And that's no fun. Like not in a good way, but in a
Yeah.
terribly painful way.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, and that's why another thing, like consent isn't just like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Like have a conversation about it and
Mm-hmm.
like where you want it to go, which is also we talk about this is always like a big joke, like safe words. That's a real fucking thing because a
Yeah.
safe word, because a lot of times in these kinks, like yeah, saying no, that's part of the kink, which oh, we'll get down to that one saying no and like continuously saying no, that's part of the kink and that's what people want to hear. And that's like getting as things get like deeper and deeper, the more you say no. So if you're just like arugula, then you know that like it's time to stop, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's like red, green, yellow. I think those three words are used a lot in different situations, but
Yeah.
and they have their meaning. But yeah, just making it a word that, hey, if you scream it out, it has nothing to do with sex or anything like that. It's like, um, yeah, so that there's that. Because like so in the situation of like CNC, which is consensual non-consent, right? And
Yeah.
which
This is fun.
yeah, this one. So a lot of people, and I don't want to say a lot of people, but there's there's an idea that this just means like rape, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
idea of consensual raping somebody and there's a role play
The role
which
play
it
for
is
sure.
it can be, yeah, it's like
Mm-hmm.
role playing that fantasy of like saying no and like setting up a scene, you come home and somebody walks in behind you and then you go through all the things um but it's that, but it also can be kidnapping.
Yeah,
So it gets
everything has a rabbit hole. This is we're talking about is at the tip of the rabbit hole. The rabbit
yeah,
hole goes way down.
way deep, way deep. So like kidnapping, like even like interrogation. So it's like having someone tied and just like, bound up. And then, yeah, I've never seen that one. That'd be interesting. Forced orgasm. So like, yeah, that could be done many different ways. Yeah. And if somebody like doesn't want to, but like they've consented to non-consent, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so those are just a few. And like you said, there's a whole rabbit hole of those that
Yeah.
we don't need to. I mean, these are the ones that like, if you want to start there, so be it. Um, yeah. All right, you want to take the next one?
No. Audience, you'll see why.
You don't want to take cuckolding?
No, I'm good.
You don't want to take that one?
Uh-uh.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay, so as we usually hear about this one, it's the man, the partner, the male partner watching his partner having sex with another person. So we usually see this in porn, right? It's like the poor man sitting in the corner watching his wife get railed. Beautiful scene. Love it. It's like great. It's like total Emmy worthy stuff. But this is used in, across. This is not like withholding, whether it's a man, a woman, whatever gender
Mm,
you are. This is kind of goes around. It's someone watching their partner getting, having sex or going through sexual actions with another person. That's consensual. It's not just like you can do the CNC where it's like a cheating scene.
right.
Um, which I've heard a lot of people do, and it sounds like really fun. And then they call like the female a cuckoldress. So, and it can be so you can just go, but it's basically that scene or that thought that, the partner's cheating on the person. It, that's what it kind of started off as. Now
Right.
it's gone into something better. And the person that's watching, the husband or wife that's watching is enjoying it. They like that pleasure. So there's the compersion aspect there, which we talked about
Mm-hmm.
before. But there's also the jealousy aspect because that really entices jealousy, and jealousy in people can like create a different dynamic in relationships too. So there's from the person watching, you got like I'm really like kind of jealous that I'm watching this person do this to my partner right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's another, like we talk about therapy and getting things out and alchemizing feelings.
Mm,
Um, there's a whole thing there. I think that, and I think we can take this out of this situation and say, okay, when we're jealous about something, sometimes you get jealous, and that's going to make, I've seen this in couples where it's like, this person's jealous, so I'm going to try harder and do more and like be a
right.
better partner
Right.
because of my own insecurities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So this is one of those scenes where if you talk, what things that I've read, it's like that can turn into that, in some cases,
Sure.
definitely not. But there's that aspect of it.
Here's a question, Phaedra, and I don't know that I mean, there is no definitive answers, but
Okay.
do you, based on your experience and,
Hmm.
from your own or from friends in the community, do you find, I mean, of course, kinks evolve and change over time, but like we're talking
Sure.
about alchemization of, I mean, and that's the premise of the question. So,
Yeah.
talking about alchemization of trauma or discomfort
Mm,
into pleasure.
yeah.
I would imagine, and then just me being me, as somebody evolves in their life or they mature, whatever, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
evolve is better than mature, that their relationship to the things that brought them pain that have
Hmm.
over time via these kinks have been turned into pleasure would lose
Hmm.
a little bit of the kind of grip that they had on somebody in the initial stages, and so therefore their kinks, their kind of experiences would have to evolve with them. And I'm just wondering, would that render some of these initial experiences in that world when the stuff had a lot of power, would that render it not as powerful as time goes on? Which
Yeah.
I think probably, but then the question is like, I don't know, like where would that go? Like how does that evolve, or is that my person? I don't know. What have you seen, if anything, like this?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you're saying as someone evolves and their their initial trauma or pain, which when they're seeking this, they're seeking it to turn into pleasure. So they start small, or let's say, in one of these kinks or fetish situations. And then, but as they're learning and they're growing and they're
Yeah,
evolving and learning more about them, then it's not going to be such an impact anymore. Like it may not be as pleasurable because now they're dealing with their traumas and their stuff. And so that may not be as pleasurable anymore. This is why then we start, like you said, we start going down rabbit holes of more and more. Okay, so maybe like that impact, like if you just spanking me. So now we're going to take it a step further. So that's why when you start reading up on these kinks and stuff like that, it can get pretty, um, I mean, it can get pretty intense, like very
mm,
intense. And so that I would assume then they probably would try, okay, well, that's not getting hitting me anymore. So they try something different, or maybe it's just like, maybe I'm just gonna try somebody being nice to me.
mm-hmm,
And maybe that's gonna become my new kink is like, maybe I just try vanilla stuff for a little bit and see if it works. But
right.
that was a great question. Like I don't think I've ever thought about that, but I think that's why new kinks and that people normalize it now because this is dealing with, you know, a lot of different things. Or,
Mhm.
yeah, so I would say, yeah, they'd evolve into new and different things, or just say, hey, I don't think this is for me anymore. And
Yeah.
your body will tell you. I think one's body is like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're done. Like
Yeah.
and yeah, but that was good. And I would assume so, but I'm not sure. I don't think I've heard. Yeah, I mean, I know people that really go in and out of things. And it's just like with anything in life, like
Yeah.
even just lifestyle, like your thoughts and needs and wants change, or you start learning things about anything we've talked about in the last, few months, or that you talk about on your podcast with Eric. Like the growth and the change is so important. And you might be resistant to leave things behind, but once you
Yeah.
start learning what you really want and need and what's important, things
Yeah.
can change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, the next one. You can take the next one. This is easy.
So exhibitionism.
Yeah.
This is exposing yourself in a consensual public space. Also could be private in a private setting. I always I always find exhibitionism to be very
Mhm.
similar to voyeurism. Like you want to be seen, like you want to be
It's
seen.
yeah. So voyeur is the person watching. Exhibition is the person that's being watched.
Yeah,
The
so they
exhibitionist, yeah. So they go hand in hand.
yeah, I've had a couple friends who've been and I'm not going to say I'm sure you've been, but possibly you've been. They have some clubs or some parties where their people
Yeah.
are on, display and they're doing their
Hmm.
thing. I know my cousin went somewhere in Vegas and there was
Mm,
I forgot the name of the place. I wouldn't even say it if I knew it anyways, but
right. You can let me
um
know off camera.
yeah, for sure. And so so he went to this club and it was like a lounge type thing, but in the center, everything was sort of around this middle. There was a man and a woman, and the woman was kind of teasing the man, giving him a little lap dance, wearing lingerie,
Hmm.
kind of things like this. And then I don't know how it happened, but she chose my cousin
Nice. Good
to
for him.
enter into the arena, enter
Yeah.
into, and so he was there being watched by the majority of the people at this place to, engage with her while her male partner sat,
Mhm.
as the cuckold
Oh,
in the corner
yeah.
while they did their thing and everybody was witnessing this live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that going on. And it's more and more. It's a little, it used to be so much more underground. And now these things are like, yeah. And so there's parties, right? Uh, they're not just your old school key parties from back in the day, right? Which those
Yeah.
are making a comeback too. Anyways, so yeah, exhibition, and exhibition is not even like in a sexual sense, just like going to nudist camps, like
Mm,
being able just to be seen naked, being free and liberated. And that's just, is even if like you're at home with your partner, just walking around, with the drapes open. Like I was talking to some people who that's like their form of exhibitionism, right? It's like they have all the drapes open. And if you live in Chicago in a high rise, and I'm voyeuristic for sure, but you just look out your window and you're like right across from someone's window, right? And people are they're doing all their things in those buildings. They don't give a fuck at all. They are completely drinking their coffee, stretching in front of the window like no pants on. And I was like, that's so cool. Like,
yeah.
bro, you get it, Um, but there you go. It's just like, and it can be simple or it can get into like the sexual stuff, with the dungeons and the different parties. So yeah, it can be real simple. If you like walking around naked around your partner, you are an exhibitionist. There you
Hmm.
go. So
Hmm.
you're already in this world and you didn't even know.
You didn't even know it. Yeah.
People are like, yes, I'm kinky.
Yeah.
We did
Yay.
it. We did it. Yay. I'm
Yeah.
not boring.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I used to go to school downtown in Chicago, and we were across from a hotel. I forgot which hotel it was.
a school. Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, and we were higher up, so we could see many floors, windows, and there'd be people having sex, naked people, all the time. I mean, I was always staring out the window, hoping that during, whatever lecture I was in, I would be entertained by the resident guests of the hotel.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, it was
lucky
really,
you.
yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's so great. I love that.
But it's anonymous too,
Um,
right? Because like
yeah,
someone's gonna see you, and then but they don't know who you are. You just,
yeah,
you
right.
know what I mean?
So that's actually illegal. Uh,
Oh, okay, got it. Right. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So also with the voyeurism exhibitions, it has to be consensual. So if someone is, so they can be CNC, right, where you're in a party and you haven't given anyone like actual consent, but by being there, it's just like, ooh, someone might walk in and see me. Ooh, like that's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, like we're doing something naughty. So that's part of it too. But like
Mm-hmm.
usually being in that place, you've given consent that you're okay with people
Mm-hmm.
walking in. At some places. Some places have you actually sign things. If you're like at someone's home, that's a different story. Like they usually will have like a group introduction and kind of a get to know you circle. And then when people go off to play, there might be a private room that's a do not enter where some, people are doing their thing. And then there's rooms where you can open the door and watch. And that's more of in a private setting.
Mm.
Um,
So you're saying
but
don't do that at like a baby shower or a christening.
don't do that at a baby shower or christening. Probably not. Or, your grandpa's 90th birthday party.
Yeah.
Probably not like a good
Yeah.
idea. Yeah. That's right. That's just on a whole different new level. Okay, so we just talk a little bit about impact play a little bit,
A little
which
bit.
impact, yeah, if you talk about impact, it's usually like that pain response, right? So there's usually a top and a bottom. Top is a person that's using the mechanism, what could be a hand, it could be a flogger, that's like the little thing with all the little tassels on there. Crops,
Paddle.
which paddles. Um, so this is can be fun. Like the one thing to remember, if you're listening to this, you're like, I want to try to like spank. Like there's certain areas, right? So we do the fleshy areas like breasts with consent, breasts, somebody's ass. Impact play can include the face, but there's a proper way to smack someone and there's a very improper way. So like, don't just think you can go and wail, right? Because that would not be good and it's not fun and it hurts a lot.
Mm.
So fleshy areas, but if you're going to use like something, there's areas to avoid, like the sides, like where the kidneys are, different joints, like the neck, because you could really hurt someone,
Yeah.
damage some things, or kill them, like so it could get really bad, but it can also be very fun. I mean, you've got like paper clips on the nipple, not paper clips, like the clothespins on the nipples
Clothespins.
for
Yeah, I was gonna
pain.
say paper clips.
Yeah. Some
Like,
people do like medical needles where they'll like do like almost like body art. I've seen it's beautiful. I say it's beautiful, but it was, is somebody had someone, um, where they take the, I don't know what you call them, not the dermic needles or the
yeah.
whatever those are, whatever, but they had feathers on them. So they made her like have wings, which was like, it was so different. And I didn't even know what it was, but that was like part of that. Like, I think that's actually a different thing. I don't think that's impact, but it's still pain. Impact can also, um, be, like I was saying, with the hands. So choking, slapping, that's usually what people just like, oh, a spank. If you spank your partner, you're kinky and you are into impact play, so
Mm-hmm.
that's your gateway drug. But
Yes.
yeah, and then being a bottom, and so it can be very easy where it's just like a spank here, but then there's a lot of people that also like it like really rough and they love the bruises and the welts. And in my opinion, for me, like it's scary because it's really it's pretty intense the amount of bruising that can be given on
Mm.
a particular night. And there's a lot of, and from what I've talked with people who do engage in that, there's many days of aftercare and like
Right.
bringing yourself down. So it's not just like you go through this because it's a whole process, and then after you're like, I'm good. Like I don't know, some people maybe, but a lot of people there's a day or two. So usually these parties could be like on a Friday or Saturday and they take the next 2 days to recover from it because it's really
It's a
intense.
lot on your nervous system. I mean, you're aroused, and then
Yep.
you're getting then you're accepting pain as part of that arousal. So you have
Hmm.
to re-regulate your system,
Yep.
and that takes time, and space.
Yeah, absolutely. And so same thing like we were talking about, a lot of these things when it comes to like with objects stuff, they're not necessarily like you're having sex and
No,
like not this is a lot of this stuff can just be like the act is what's creating like
the
that
arousal.
arousal and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So um yeah, so that's that. Um and then I think we had like there's one we didn't talk about was the objectification, which I
Oh
find
yeah,
really interesting.
yeah.
Um so when you when you use basically the person that you're with, you're using them in something other than as a sentient being, right? So a footstool, a fuck toy, a hole, a piece of furniture.
A
So
urinal.
you're just a urinal, a urinal, and it's just like you're using this person as just like whatever. And this could be kind of like that dom again, where we're talking about the dom and the all
So
the sub this and it goes into the BDSM because it's the sadist and the masochist. So it's one of those things where um it's like you're being talked to. Like I'm sitting there and I'm on all fours and someone just has their feet on me and I just sit there. They're reading a book. I mean, this is, someone's dom can do this. And so I like my dom is just sitting there and I just sit there and I'm like, okay, madam or whatever, can I get up? And they just tell me to shut up and sit there. And they could sit there for hours. And if I get tired, I get punished. If I move, I get punished. And that's the whole kink
yeah,
in some situations. And it's
yeah,
so interesting that people love this. Or they just like when we think about like gangbangs, right? The woman in the gang or man in the gangbang a lot of time, they're not considering themselves as a person. They're like, I'm a whole, I'm here for one purpose, and that is to have all these men or women use me. And I'm the sole purpose of as being a whole. And it's interesting, like no judgment. But it's just an interesting concept that I mean, you hear like the one girl that had like what, like 1,000 guys or something in a day. You really have to think of yourself. You do not think you're human. You do not consider yourself a sentient being in that moment. You
yeah.
can't.
Yeah, so they have what's that test called, Phaedra? What's that's like the
The
kink test?
BDSM, yeah, the BDSMtest.org or something like that, where you
Yeah,
can
so people who are interested and you want to see where you kind of rank on the scale of Freaknik to vanilla,
vanilla,
you know,
like
um
Dreyer's vanilla,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
not
Like
even French vanilla.
no, not even French vanilla. Just straight vanilla. It's just ice actually. It's just ice. It's frozen milk. That's it. Um,
That's it.
but you can look up like BDSM test, and then
Hmm.
they'll give it to you. And one of the questions on there is, do you like to be used as a urinal?
It's a real thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I saw that question and I was like, wow,
Like, no, I don't think so.
no,
No.
no. But obviously, someone does because the question's on here.
Yep.
However, I prefer not. But thank you.
Me too. Good, thanks. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks for asking that question.
yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a
Appreciate
good
it.
test. It takes some minutes though. It's not a short quiz. There's what, like 100 questions or something.
Yeah,
It was, or 60, 80. It's a long test. So if you're going to take it just for fun, I thought you think it's fun and it's always changing. So if you think right now you're like, oh, I'm really never going to be into this stuff. Mhm. Once you start seeing that and start just kind of like doing a little research, I hope everyone gets like interested in some of this stuff and they're like, oh, this isn't so bad. Like, I think we gave a good,
yeah.
like, that, like a good, like high and low range for
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah, before
Yeah.
at first you start off with a little spank, and before you know it, you're being paraded around your house naked like a dog on a collar, drinking out of a bowl.
Yes, which is a huge thing. Absolutely. In a cage. And then they keep you that old dog cage that you don't use anymore.
You can
Well,
stay in
now you
there,
can use it. Yes,
and you could sell your
absolutely.
house and move into a small apartment because you just need this little cage, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Great.
you're welcome for the
Wonderful.
financial
Oh,
advice,
we're,
by the way.
we're changing lives, changing lives.
That's right, just like that. Awesome. Well, this was great,
Oh,
Phaedra.
thank you.
Yeah, we had a nice time. Phaedra, thank you so much for being here and sharing this. I know this is near and dear to your heart, and it's nice to bring this. There's a lot happening in the world right now. There's just a lot happening, and we're kind of diving in to those spaces a little bit more on the psychological aspect of it, and so but we are still who we are, which is beings of relation and in sexuality and trying to find pleasure as many places as we can in life because it is hard, it is overwhelming, but we're not, we're still here and we have to get through. And it's better, in my opinion, to get through with a more happy demeanor of finding more pleasure in our existence so that we can deal with the stuff that is not so pleasurable in our daily existence. So I enjoy having these conversations and bringing the spotlight to areas of fun and maybe kink and
Yes.
fetish.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So, if you found this useful, or not useful, like and
You know someone that
subscribe.
will.
Yeah, but subscribe. It definitely helps out. It's totally free to you. Share our work if you find it interesting, or you just want to troll somebody with it. That's fine too, because maybe they might. You never know. So, yeah, like, subscribe, comment if you want to. If you have questions, leave a comment in the YouTube. Hit us up at the Gin and Tantra podcast or at ginandtantra@gmail.com. And for Phaedra, this is Daniel. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.